In the occupied West Bank, the Oscar-winning Palestinian film director Hamdan Ballal was arrested by Israeli soldiers Monday after being brutally beaten by a group of masked and armed Israeli settlers in the village of Susya in the Masafer Yatta region. The attack came just 3 weeks after Ballal and his 3 co-directors won an Oscar for Best Documentary for their film No Other Land. The film follows the struggles of Palestinians in Masafer Yatta to stay on their land amidst home demolitions by Israeli military and violent attacks by Israeli settlers aimed at expelling them. One of Ballal's co-directors, journalist Basel Adra, said settlers entered their village and started the assault shortly after residents broke their daily Ramadan fast. The Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham, who is one of the other co-directors of No Other Land, wrote on social media, quote, "They beat him and he has injuries in his head and stomach, bleeding. Soldiers invaded the ambulance he called and took him. No sign of him since," Yuval wrote. We're joined now by 2 guests in the village of Susya in the occupied West Bank. Anna Lippman is with us, a Jewish-American peace activist from the Center for Jewish Nonviolence. She witnessed the settler attack on Monday. Also with us, Basel Adra. He co-directed the Oscar-winning film No Other Land. The film is based on his years of documenting Israeli efforts to evict Palestinians living in his community of Masafer Yatta, south of Hebron. Anna, let's begin with you. You were in the area of the attack. Can you explain exactly what you saw?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, so we were called, myself and several other activists, by members of the village of Susya that an attack was occurring next to the elementary school. We drove over from a neighboring village. It took us about 15 minutes to get there. As we arrived at the base of the house that the attack occurred at, we saw soldiers, sirens, all sorts of things at the top of the hill. Myself and 2 other activists exited the car, and we were immediately ambushed by mass settlers with stones and sticks yelling at us. One of the activists was punched in the face and punched in the neck. Another was pushed and hit with a stick. They began throwing rocks at us, and we ran back to the car. They continued to throw rocks. They broke the windshield. They broke the back windshield. They broke several of the windows. And it actually wasn't until Basel and several others ran over and begged the army that was standing there to intervene that the settlers actually stopped. So as this was occurring the entire time, the army was watching but did nothing. And we weren't even able to get to Hamdan at the top of the hill because the army, who was refusing to help us, was also not allowing us to move from the location.
The settlers were masked, Anna?
Yes, they were. There was about 15 or so masked young settlers who just converged upon us in our car.
The IDF issued a statement about the incident saying IDF and Israeli police forces arrived to disperse the confrontation. At this point, several terrorists began hurling rocks at the security forces. The forces apprehended 3 Palestinians suspected of hurling rocks, as well as an Israeli civilian involved in the violent confrontation. The detainees were taken for further questioning by the Israeli police. Anna.
Yes, I mean, that's certainly what the Israeli authorities have said. We know from what's happening in Gaza that they love to say lots of things. When we arrived, Palestinians had already been attacked. As Basel said, this was happening at iftar when everyone was sitting down for their meal to break the fast of not having eaten all day. Hamdan was begging for his life while being injured. And, you know, the double standard is so strong here in the West Bank that Palestinians know if they were to touch a stone, in front of the army, that could mean their life or the rest of their life in prison. So the very thought of any of the Palestinians doing this, to me, is laughable. And it's such a double standard because we literally have video proof of the settlers harming not only us, but the Palestinians. The settlers who claimed that Hamdan and others were throwing stones, they have no proof, they have no evidence. They simply told the army this, and that was enough for the army. The police refused to help us, the army refused to help us, but they instantly decided to serve the interests of the occupation and of the settlers.
I want to bring Basel Adra into this conversation. Basel, this is 3 weeks after you and Ballal and Yuval won the Best Documentary for No Other Land. This conversation should be about congratulating you, because we haven't spoken since you were there in Los Angeles winning this award. But instead, we see this taking place. Describe, from your vantage point, when you came in, what happened, and tell us more about Ballal, your co-Oscar-winning director of No Other Land. We're trying to hear you, Basel. Go ahead.
Home and all of his family, his
Basel,
children,
can you
his mother
start
are
again?
worried for his safety. Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm starting again. Thank you for having me. I am here at Hamdan's home, my colleague and my friend. Since long time we're being in the field together filming. I'm here at his home and everybody at his family, including me and other friends, are worried for his safety. He's been abducted since last night, injured. His blood was in front of his home, where settlers and soldiers together attacked him physically, brutally, and abduct him. Until now, we don't know his conditions and what's happening to him, if he gets a treatment or not. Last night at 6 p.m., I arrived in Susia village after I got a call. The water tanks stabbing them and attacking the villagers, women, children. And shortly, military jeep intervene and police to help the settlers, and more settlers with rifles who start attacking us. Every Palestinian keep throwing rocks at us. Hamdan ran directly to his home, which is 50% from the first 50 meters, from the first inhabitant beside the door to prevent any settler to enter inside.
Basel, we're going to go to a clip of
the settlers chased him.
Basel, we're going to go to the trailer for No Other Land so that we can adjust your footage, your audio. It's too important. We need to hear this description. So this is the trailer that Ballal and Basel co-directed with their colleagues. No Other Land.
You think they'll come to our home?
Is the army down there?
1,000 Palestinians face one of the single biggest expulsion decisions since the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories began.
Basel, come here. Come fast.
This is a story about power. My name is Basel.
Masafer Yatta.
I grew up in a small community called Masafer Yatta. I started to film when we started to end. They have bulldozers. I'm filming you.
I need air. Oh my God.
Don't worry.
I don't want them to take our home.
You're Basel?
Yes.
You're Palestinian?
No, I'm Jewish.
He's a journalist. You're Israeli. Seriously.
We have to raise our voices, not being silent as if no human beings live here.
What? The army is here?
This is what's happening in my village now. Soldiers are everywhere. Who do you think you're filming, you son of a whore?
It would be so nice with stability one day. Then you'll come visit me. Not always me visiting you, right?
Maybe. What do you think? If you were in my place, what would you do?
That's the trailer for the Oscar-winning documentary. Won the Oscar 3 weeks ago, of No Other Land. Basel Adra is a Palestinian co-director, along with his colleagues Yuval Abraham, Rachel Soar, and Hamdan Ballal, who was beaten yesterday by the Israeli military and attacked by Israeli settlers, and we don't know where he is right now. I think we've adjusted the sound on Basel Adra, who is there in the West Bank. Basel, again, describe exactly what you understand took place and tell us more about your colleague, Hamdan Ballal, who, when he was being beaten, said, "I'm dying."
I was in the place with Hamdan, with other friends, and shortly before, around 20 settlers with at least 4 soldiers, 2 settlers with rifles. The settlers throwing rocks at us while soldiers pointing their guns toward us. So we ran away from the place. Everybody ran to different direction. Hamdan ran to his home, which is 50 meters. His wife and children were there. The settler recognized Hamdan and chased him to his home with 2 soldiers. They start hitting him while his children inside, hearing him shouting, "I need ambulance, I'm dying." A group of Palestinians try to approach to help him. The soldiers immediately shot live ammunition in the air to prevent anybody to come close, and then the soldiers abducted Hamdan to a military base, I guess. Until now, we don't know what's his situation.
We have word from the well-known Israeli attorney, Leah Semel, who's representing them, that Israeli police told her that they're at a military base for medical treatment, but she said Tuesday morning she had not been able to reach them, had no further information on their whereabouts. Can you tell us who the settlers were, Basel? Did you recognize them, though they were masked?
No, 2 of them were not masked. 2 of them were in with rifles and not masked. I know who they are. I know they constantly attack Hamdan and his village. The settler that approached Hamdan and attacked him with the soldiers, before a few months, he approached Hamdan in his home, attacking his family. And I'm breaking multiple time.
In response to the attack, of Hamdan, the International Documentary Association issued a statement: "We demand Ballal's immediate release and that his family and community be informed about his condition, location, and justification for his detention." Have you gotten any response, Basel Adra, from the Academy Awards or any of the organizations since these attacks began?
In Susia, the attacks are since January, where Hamdan lived 45 attacks, settlers attacks on his home. So this is not an isolated attack happening. This is happening in a way, and the official policy of the state of Israel by letting these settlers Masafer Yatta and across the West Bank. I've been seeing the news covering this. I think also the Academy that covered this incident. We need more serious international intervention for Hamdan, but for the communities to protect Palestinians all over, journalists in Gaza, Hamdan, and everybody, not just Hamdan because he winning the Oscar. He for sure deserve to be protected, but all Palestinians living under this brutal occupation.
Have the attacks gotten worse since you won the Oscar?
It is.
Basel, your final thoughts today as we talk about what's happened.
To be honest, yeah, it is almost every day there is attack. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Your final thoughts right now and your final demand right now for what you want people to understand around the world or what's happening in your area, in Masafer Yatta.
Masafer Yatta. You need people to understand. The people need to understand this is not a racist, radical Israeli settlers who want to expose their violence and racism, which is true, but this is an official state policy. The army and the police here are army and police of the occupation. The courts are courts of occupation, everything to legitimize the occupation and to steal our land. There's nothing here to protect us as indigenous Palestinians and incidents living in this community surrounded by these armed settlers. International community seriously need to intervene seriously against the settlers, against the Israeli policies, against the occupation, which is illegal, to stop it and to stop the crimes so we can live our life better than this.
Basel Adra, I want to thank you for being with us, Palestinian journalist, co-director of the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, speaking to us from the West Bank, from the area where his co-director, Hamdan Ballal, was taken by the Israeli military, was beaten, injured in the head and the stomach. Again, his lawyer has not been able to communicate with him. I also want to thank Anna Lippman, Jewish-American peace activist with the Center for Jewish Nonviolence, for being there and talking to us about what happened. You can go to democracynow.org to see our other interviews with Basel Adra and his co-director, Yuval Abraham.